Excellent. Less than 2 minutes to go. Less than 2 minutes should be good to go. All right. Day 2 of Canada Cup number 2 here in Calgary as the women's 1,000 meters get set to go. There will be 22 pairs, Gavin Day and Leo Landry here in the booth once again. Now, Leo, it's another Canada Cup day, another day of young skaters ready to set some new personal bests and see what they can do.
Absolutely. Canada Cup is just a level below the Canadian Championships, which are racing at 5 p.m. Mountain Time every evening this weekend. The Canada Cup competition is one of 4 across the country. 1 in Quebec City, 2 here in Calgary, and 1 in Fort St. John, British Columbia.
Now it's the 1,000 meters, so we saw 500s yesterday, so a bit of a different race. It's just a longer sprint. So what are the good 1,000-meter skaters going to be doing today?
Absolutely. So the world record in the ladies 1,000 meter is a 1:12.18. Now I don't expect we'll see that time here today, but among the fastest girls, they should be going in the 1:15, 1:16, 1:17 range.
Looks like we are just about set to get underway. I hear the whistle. Sounds like racers are lining up. I see them over there. 2 racers in this one from Quebec, Caroline Gingras and Danielle Dumouchel from New Brunswick set to get us going. Gingras picked up an 8th and a 3rd place at the Canada Cup last month in Quebec, where they had 2 1,000-meter races. And it's away cleanly as the 2 skaters are off. Both of them did do some 500s yesterday, or a 500 yesterday.
1,000-meter race is a long sprint, twice the distance of the 500, but the skaters go out just as fast right off the line.
Now the 1,000, whereas the 500, it's an all-out just go for it. How much strategy is there involved into 1,000? Because it's one of those not quite a middle distance, but it's still a sprint.
There's not a whole lot of strategy that's planned out ahead of time. The skaters usually go fast and try to hang on. They will typically look for slightly easier, smoother speed, so expect them to swing maybe one arm in the first lap. Try to hold back just a little bit.
There, as you mentioned, that Gingras comes through, one arm going. She has 400 meters to go. Lap time there, 30.23, 31.16 for Danielle Dumouchel.
So coming down the backstretch, crossing over. Gingras with a big lead. She will come into the finishing stretch. Only a half straightaway to the line.
And Gingras sets the time to beat at the moment, 1:21.87, 1:25.51 for Dumouchel. They go 1-2 at the moment. Still a lot of pairs left to skate. 21 pairs remaining. Coming up on the track is Gabrielle Sanson from Saskatchewan and Hee-Won Son from Alberta.
Hee-Won Son got the better of the pair yesterday in the ladies 500 meters. 500 is usually a good indication for the 1,000, although some skaters do start to die off a little bit at the end of that long race.
It's a clean start from the 2 skaters. And it's Sanson in the middle, Son on the outer. Sanson picked up a 3rd place at the Canada Cup last month in Quebec City in one of the races.
Through their 200-meter openers, both skaters just under 20 seconds.
19.4, 19.7, for Son, and now Son trying to chase her down the back stretches. She was 3/10 behind. Is that sort of close enough to maybe get a bit of a draft there on the back stretch?
She possibly got a little bit, yes.
It's pretty close as they come up to get the bell. Son using that inner lane to her advantage, just about stride for stride. 30.36 lap time for Sanson, 32.1 for Son. Not much in this race.
Watch Sanson. She'll probably get a bit of a draft on this backstretch as Son seems to be fading a little bit. Sanson's actually going to try and power through on that inner lane.
Sanson now using that advantageous inner lane as she comes up to the line. Just a few meters left. She gets both arms down. Her time, 1:22.60, slips to second. 1:24.26 for Son. So Gingra's time holds up after one pair.
So far, the skaters, all the skaters just off their personal bests.
Next pair on the track, Sarah Spence, BC skater from Kamloops, and Alexa Scott from Manitoba. Scott was 9th and 13th in the 2,000 meters last month. Now, we were talking yesterday about the barometric pressure. Is that something do people look at that and sort of say this is how it's going to go today, or is that a bit too technical?
A lot of athletes will look at it. A lot of athletes intentionally avoid looking at it because they can't change it. They can't affect the weather, so they decide they just put it out of sight and mind and go race.
As a race, you had your racing days. How finicky were you off the start of your races, checking before you'd go?
I tried to not look at it, simply because I knew that even if the pressure was high, you can produce a good race, especially if the ice is well prepared by the Olympic Oval, and it doesn't really matter what's going on in the air, what's going on in the ice. It's if you and your legs can complete the race.
Spence and Scott, a lap to go. Both are ahead of the standard at the moment. Looks like it is Scott in the lead by about half a second. It's pretty close down the backstretch. Here comes Spence coming into the inner lane. Scott on the outer.
Spence with a good finish here. But Scott's coming on.
As they come to the line, Spence over the line, hands on her knees, 1:20.97. That's the new fastest time, 1:21.46 for Scott.
So Alexis Scott there, only 2/10 away from her personal best. So a great race from Alexis Scott.
Next up, Madison Pearman and Brooklyn McDougald, both from Alberta. McDougald 12th and 15th in the Canada Cup a month ago. That one in Quebec City, outdoors. This one, Leo, much more comfortable inside.
Absolutely. The outdoor ovals, you have to deal with the wind, you have to deal with the cold, sometimes freezing rain.
What was the worst you ever skated in?
The worst I ever skated in was not actually, per se, the ice conditions. It was actually too warm, and so the ice was melting, and we had to race at 5 a.m.
Jeez. Was it still dark?
Still dark.
Wow. The things you do for your sport. Pearman and McDougald going down the backstretch, clean exchange as there's a bit of a gap between them, so no worries about crossover issues.
Very quick openers from both skaters. Fastest 200-meter openers of the day.
28.81 lap time, McDougald 28.52 for Pearman. Just 4/10 separating them overall. Could be a good final lap as these two evenly matched skaters go at it. McDougald, both skaters now, both arms down as they power down the backstretch.
Madison Pearman charging into that inner, looking strong. Good fight in this race.
Pearman looks like she's going to take the pair. Pearman at the line. Little kick out, 1:17.86, new fastest time. 1:19.49 for McDougald, so they go 1-2 at the moment.
Great race from those two. Madison Pearman crushing that last lap. Coach Marcel Lacroix looking pleased with it.
Next up, Gagne, Kpac from Alberta, Gabrielle Jelinek from Quebec. Number of these skaters, Leo, we saw in the 500 yesterday. At these Canada Cups, do a lot of people do every single event on offer?
A lot of the younger skaters will. When you're young and you're a junior, you're always looking for the most amount of racing experience you can get. And so these skaters, particularly if they fly here from somewhere else, they make it worth their while.
First 200 meters, 1964, Jelinek with the lead. 1993 for Kpac. A little bit off the time set by Pearman.
Et Jelinek va dépasser son père. With a big lead, Gabriel Jelinek coming around with 1 lap to go.
And there is the bell. 29.46 lap time, 31.04 for Kpac.
Temps personnel de Gabriel Jelinek, 1:22.63. On va voir si elle peut le battre ici aujourd'hui. Dans le dernier virage. Jelinek with a big lead will come to the line. Son temps final, 1:21.17. C'est un temps personnel pour Gabriel Jelinek. 1:24.98
for Kpac. Apologies. 4th and 9th, respectively.
Great race there from Gabriel Jelinek. Takes a 2nd off her personal best.
Another skater from Quebec on the inner, Rose Laliberte and Sierra Johnson from Ontario on the outer. Both of these skaters were in Quebec last month for the Canada Cup. Best finish for Laliberte was a 10th place and an 11th for Johnson out of the 2,000 meters. There are also a couple 500 meters there.
So Sierra Johnson, her personal best is 2 seconds slower than Rose Laliberte was. If she can keep pace with her pair here this morning, she's on pace for a good race.
We talked about pairings yesterday, and this is one of those times where you have someone you know has a bit of a faster personal time that you can chase them down and pull yourself forward.
Absolutely. Skaters generally are very aware of each other's times. They can all look up the same resources as everyone else. And so they look forward to racing people who are faster than them. It's always an opportunity to go and learn something.
Coming up to the bell, Laliberte lap time 33.7, 30.93 for Sierra Johnson.
Laliberte va aller au-dessus de sa paire avec 200 mètres à faire. Looking strong. Elle est dans le dernier virage. Arrive à la ligne. Rose Laliberte son temps final. 1:22.57. Sierra Johnson, 1:24.50.
It's another busy day at the Calgary Olympic Oval. Plenty of races. We've got the thousands here for men and women. Then there are 3,000 meters and 5,000 meters for the ladies and the men in Canada Cup. And then the showpiece events tonight, the Canadian Single Distance Championships and the 500 meters for both men and women. So long day. Next pair on the track is Olivia Moyes from Saskatchewan, Laurence Paquet from Quebec. Clean start between the two. As we like to note yesterday, it's always easy to spot the Saskatchewan athletes. Their colors are all over their suits.
Absolutely. Always in that bright green and yellow.
Very close start between the two. Not much in it. 20:59, 20:72 opening 100 meters for the two. Paquet with a little lead.
1,000 meter is unique amongst distances in long track speed skating in that the start and finish are located in the middle of the straightaway. It's 2.5 laps.
As they come up to get the bell, it's Paquet who's pulled out a bit of a lead. 31:79 lap time, 32:45 for Moyes.
So these skaters will try to keep their second lap within approximately 2 seconds of the speed of their first lap. So expect Laliberte to try and keep this next lap under 33.5.
Moyes drops both arms, trying to chase Kpac down that backstretch as she moves into the inner lane. It's going to tighten things up here. This one's going to have a close finish at the line as Moyes moves ahead, driving to the line. Moyes is going to take it. 126.29, 126.65 for Kpac. So good finish from Moyes.
Very strong finish. She went a whole second faster on that last 400 meters than her pair. 1,000 meter, the last corner is always the toughest part of the race. Skaters spend all their energy in the first 800 meters, the last 200. It's always hard to navigate.
Next up on the track, Olivia Scott from Ontario, and on the outer, Kirsten Hagen from BC. Scott, very similar kind of results in Quebec City last month, 15th and 16th place in the thousands. But I guess as we discussed again yesterday, every athlete at this level has their own sort of separate goals, whether it's a good race, something they work on tactically, or a personal best time, most importantly.
Absolutely. Skaters are always looking for personal bests, particularly if they're racing here in Calgary at high altitude. But the skaters are also looking at each other. They're looking at their overall national ranking. And so it does matter to them whether they beat their pair. And they'll be looking to climb those spots, make a name for themselves, get noticed.
Well, in this pair, it's Olivia Scott with the faster opening 200 meters, 20.88, 21.32 for Hagen. A little bit off the time set by Madison Pearman. That time looks like it might be tough to beat today. Scott comes up to get the bell, 52.21 overall, 31.33 the lap time, 31.97 for Hagen.
Olivia Scott on a great race here. That was a good lap. Let's see if she can close it out with another good one. She'll go over the top of her pair on that backstretch. Looking strong, though. Here comes Hagen. Strides looking dynamic and quick.
Scott, though, has that advantage of being in the inner lane. She comes to the line, just a couple meters to go. Final time, 125.41, 126.24 for Hagen. Pretty close pair, less than a second difference between the two. See, on the next pair, all ready to go. We move through these quickly. There'll be a little bit more of a gap in between the trials races tonight. The Canadian Championship on the inner, Jasmine Chase from Ontario, Rosanne Grenier from Quebec on the outer.
Et elles sont parties. Bon départ. Good start for both skaters as they're into the first corner. Always a challenge to try and build speed on the outer lane in the 1,000 meter. There's a shorter straightaway before they hit the corner, and then a wider radius corner. Makes it hard to get the kind of lean you need to build pressure.
What part of the lane, since it is such a wide lane, how would you approach it best in 1,000 meters?
Well, the skaters down the straightaways should skate down the middle of their lanes. In the corner, you want to be as close to those blocks or the markers as possible. No sense skating a further distance than necessary.
Coming up, both skaters close. It's Grenier with a bit of a lead as she comes up to get the bell. Lap time, 31.42, 31.47 for Chase. A very close lap time. See how this last lap plays out, but it's a nice close pair here.
This is what you love to see. Well-matched pair all coming down to the last lap. Who has the muscular endurance?
We had some very close pairs, particularly in the women's 500 meters yesterday. This one's shaping up to be a close one as well as Grenier comes up the inner. Looks like she takes a slight advantage as she drives to the line, both arms going. Her time, 125.40. Sorry, it was Chase who takes it. Grenier, 125.71.
That's a tight race between those two. They fought it out right to the very end.
An all-Alberta battle coming up now. Cassidy Peterson and Jenna Mirth. They match skin suits, so you like to point out, Leo, and probably I should pay attention to as well, as the armbands they're wearing.
Absolutely. Inner lane wears the white armband. The outer lane wears the red armband. Think of it like an apple, white on the inside, red on the outside.
Clean getaway between the two.
So those armbands, they indicate which lane the skaters start in. Doesn't necessarily mean that they will finish in that same lane.
Opening 200 meters, 26.4 for Mirth, 21.2 for Peterson.
Flying opener there from Jenna Mirth. She's setting herself up for a good draft on this backstretch. So these skaters have to be careful when they look for a draft. Sometimes, if you're not careful, you'll slow down in order to slot in behind someone as opposed to just keep powering through.
Is there an instinct as the more you skate, though, you sort of realize that this is a time to get out of the draft? You know when to move in and move out kind of thing.
Absolutely. Some of that comes from experience. The coach will be yelling at you too. Usually they'll yell, go right by, or something like that.
Very even lap that last time around as Peterson tries to chase Mirth down the backstretch, slotting into their respective lanes, coming up with less than 200 meters to go between the two now.
This will be a tight finish. Mirth took the opener, but Peterson will take the race.
1:26.01, 1:26.53. Peterson leaves it late, but takes the pair. Pair 11 of 22, so this is the halfway mark. Amanda Mitchell and Una Lovell, both of BC, here for this one. Both wearing, again, those matching British Columbia skin suits with the red, the yellow, blue, and white.
The skaters starting on opposite feet. It's a personal preference thing, which some skaters favor one foot over the other.
How often do you see it? 'Cause normally, doesn't it look like they all start the same way? How often is it that one goes different?
About 1 in 5 or 6. It's not too common.
2026 opening 200 meters, 21.59 for Mitchell as Lovell carries a bit of an advantage into the first full lap.
That was a smoking opener from Una Lovell. See if she can maintain this pace. 1,000 meter, just like the 1,500 meters yesterday, is always interesting to watch. Some sprinters will go out very quick and then slowly die off through the rest of the race. It makes for exciting finishes.
Lap time 32.18, 32.58 for Mitchell. As Lovell adds 4/10 to her advantage. I guess it's sort of like track and field where there are some 100-meter experts and 200-meter experts. There's just some people have the longer sprint endurance.
Exactly. Some people's bodies are only built to do the very quick, explosive races. Others have that extra little bit of endurance.
Lovell hangs on to take the pair. 34.18 lap time. Mitchell made it close. 33.24 her lap. So 1:26.62, 1:27.41 the final times.
Both skaters narrowly missing their personal bests. So good races on this tough day for both of those skaters.
Next pair, Anna Bourgeois from Alberta, Kennedy Charles from Manitoba. This one is a clean start. You didn't talk about personal best. Yesterday we had a few races. I think it was the 1,500 where there were a lot of them. So far it seems today you're saying quite a bit that number of it are getting close but not quite over the top.
That's right. It's hard to say why. Maybe there's a bit of fatigue in the legs that's setting in. Could be the ice is a little bit slower today.
20.99 for Bourgeois, 21.48 for Charles. I asked you yesterday for the athletes skating in their second races of the day how they would have felt after the 500 first. And he said there wouldn't have been too much, but after a day of 2 hard races now, for those continuing to compete, how much fatigue is setting in here?
Well, the legs will be starting to feel it, particularly after the 1,500 meter. really important that those skaters did a really good recovery yesterday. You know, hop on the bike, flush out the legs, stretch in order to recover for today.
And a Bourgeois lap time 31.83, 33.67 for Charles. So Bourgeois going to move into that inner lane.
As they are now in the final corner, trying to keep those legs moving. The legs fill up with lactic acid. That leg tempo is the toughest part.
Bourgeois 1:27.46, 23rd fastest time. Charles 1:30.36.
That's a personal best for Kennedy Charles. Oh, my mistake. Kennedy Charles missing her personal best by a couple seconds.
Next pair, Ashley Hanna from Manitoba, Annika Marshall from Saskatchewan.
Prairie battle here.
Pointed out yesterday the new Calgary oval skin suits. Is this a new thing this year that people get to have?
They've had skin suits for the oval program skaters for a number of years. These new suits are red to match the new Olympic oval logo and rebranding, which moved from blue to red. Oh, skaters with the black and red suits looking sharp. The suits these skaters wear are not simply Lycra suits. They have a rubberized component on it above or on the torso section of the suit. This provides a little bit of compression on the muscles, which helps their performance. It's also a little bit more aerodynamic. This style of suit came out in the early 2000s before the Salt Lake Olympics.
1 lap to go, 41 lap time for Marshall, 32.95 for Hanna. There's always a constant battle at the upper levels for skin suit technology. I know the fad right now that some countries is the color blue.
Well, there's some research showing that certain colors perform better than other colors. But countries do spend significant resources on having their suits tested in wind tunnels.
At the line, it's going to be Hanna taking this one, 128.24, 129.2 for Marshall. Remember, I think it was in Sochi where the U.S. put a lot of money into a skin suit technology, and the results were very poor, and it caused a bit of a debate onto what went wrong there, as it always happens when you're debriefing an Olympics.
Some of the athletes ditched the suit halfway through the competition to use an older suit. I'm not sure how they were allowed to do that.
On the track now, clean start, Lily Weidman on the inner, Emma Jafra on the outer. We mentioned names like Weidman and Spence, and you just see, Leo, I guess, how much of a family sport this is.
Absolutely. And, there's other names like Jelinek, where it's not only a sibling thing, it's a intergenerational affair. Speed skating, a sport which tends to retain people. It's tight-knit families, tight-knit communities.
And it's Weidman with the advantage early on by about 0.6 of a second. She moves into the outer lane. Jafra gets to chase her down on the inner as they complete their first full lap, coming up to get the bell. Jafra doing well to bring that gap down a little bit close as we get to 400 meters to go. 33.6, 33.58 for Jafra.
So these skaters will be looking for stride length, so long and strong strides. And they're looking for weight transfer. So with each stride, they're pushing with their whole body weight, shifting side to side as opposed to just the muscle.
Weidman on the inner now, able to pull out a bit of a gap into the final stretch, into the last couple meters, gets both arms down. Weidman, 129.53, 131.74 for Jafra. Pair 15 of 22 now. Molly Johnson and Zuzana Nedelyacova, both of Alberta. And their chance to go 2.5 laps.
We had a great shot of them on that backstretch at the start line, staggered. Nedelyacova on that outer lane, skating a shorter straightaway into the wider, longer corner. But they'll have traveled 200 meters as they cross the line, opening splits in the low 21s.
Now the exchange down the back stretch. Nedelyacova looking like she's going to try to get a bit of a draft there on Johnson. Johnson, though, quickly moving into that outer lane. Coming up to the bell for 400 meters to go as Nedelyacova now moves into the lead by just a little bit. 32.94 lap time for Johnson. Nedelyacova 32.71.
Both skaters looking strong down that backstretch. This is the crux of the race, though, the last 200 meters. And Johnson in the inner lane, moving her legs quick. She doesn't look like she is tired at all.
And as you say that, she moves ahead in front of Nedelyacova. Johnson's coming to take the pair. 129.08, 129.58 for Nedelyacova.
Molly Johnson missing her personal best by 0.03 of a second. Great race from her, good finish.
Next pair has Saskatchewan and Alberta, another Battle of the Prairies. Vanessa Koutou from Saskatchewan, Stephanie Spicer from Alberta. We talk about starts quite a bit earlier. You do see, I don't think we mentioned it yesterday, the ones who do the 3-point start where they have their hands down on the ice. Where does that one come from?
So the 3-point start, we haven't seen one of the ladies here this morning do it, but the 3-point start is where one hand is down on the ice. That started as an American invention. In the early 2000s, there were a few American sprinters who were looking to innovate and change the sport, and the idea was to imitate a track start. So to start with a much lower position, the body already angled forwards. The empirical evidence is relatively mixed. There's not much evidence that it's faster than the traditional start. There's not much evidence that it's slower.
It's a personal taste thing, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Among sprinters at the world-class level, it's about 50-50. Half of them do the down start, half of them do a standard start.
Inside 400 meters to go, Spicer leads the pair at the moment. Koutou tracing her down, moving into that inner lane. See if she can close the gap now as they approach the finish line. Inside 100 meters to go. Spicer maintaining her lead. Coming off the turn at the line, it's going to be Spicer 129.10, 130.35 for Koutou.
So Stephanie Spicer skating our first personal best of the morning, or second personal best of the morning. That's a great race from her. Just beating her old mark.
17th pair, Elliot Gagne from Manitoba, Shruti Kotwal from India.
India, a country which has produced very few speed skaters over the years. Although there are some skaters now training here in Calgary, not a whole lot of ice in India.
As one would imagine.
So a lot of the athletes are coming from the sport of roller speed skating, inline speed skating.
Is it a quick, easy transition? Because you see a few. You see like Jordan Belchos yesterday, who was an inliner as well. And is it an easy switch from inline to this?
It's a relatively easy switch, particularly for the longer distances. We've seen a number of skaters achieve the highest ranks of long track speed skating coming from the sport of inline speed skating, the likes of Chad Hedrick, Bart Swings.
Very close between these two. Kotwal puts up a 32-1, 32-6-8 for Gagne. And Kotwal now pulling ahead a little bit with that inner lane, but she will be switching over to the outer as they come down inside 400 meters to go.
So Gagne with the very quick opener starting to fade a little. Can she hang on this inner lane? Kotwal's charging around the outer.
See how much her time drops off in that last lap. It's going to be close between these two. Looks like it was a good turn skated by Gagne, and it's going to be very close at the line. Final times 129.6 for Kotwal, 129.7 for Gagne. 0.06 of a second between the two.
What a race. Fighting right to the line. Both skaters just off their personal best by a few hundredths of a second.
Coming down the final few pairs, Emma Stevens from Alberta on the inner, Hanna Brun from BC on the outer.
You notice the skaters wear white or yellow sleeves around their ankles. Those are made of Kevlar, and they're there for cut protection. All Canadian skaters are required to wear those devices in domestic competitions. It is the only piece of protection equipment required in long track speed skating. Otherwise, the skaters just have to wear a suit which covers most of their skin.
Pretty even race going on. Bit of a confusion, Leo, down there on the backstretch.
That's right. We had a slight issue on that crossover. Hanna Brun had to let up in order to let her pair go through. Brun did have the right of way, so it remains to be seen, but Emma Stevens may be disqualified. Referees will review it.
34.5 lap time for Stevens, 34.38 for Brun. As Brun now just comfortably in front, moving into the outside lane. Stevens with some work to do to try to chase her down. She does have that inner lane coming up. Brun leads them into that final turn, under 200 meters to go.
And this will be a tight finish as Stevens coming on strong.
Almost stride for stride as they come to the line. Who's going to take it? Stevens has it. 132.49. She did chase her down. 132.61 for Brun.
There's an action replay of that crossover on the backstretch.
We'll have a look at that, I'm sure.
See if the referees have anything to say about that. You can find the final results at the Olympic Oval website.
We will move on to the next pair, though. Another skater from BC, Brooke Braun, taking on Rachel Freitag from Ontario. Freitag put up 26th and 23rd place finishes at the Canada Cup in Quebec City last month.
So Rachel Freitag just got the better of her pair by 0.02 of a second yesterday in the 500 meter. So well-matched skaters here as they come through. 800 meters to go.
21.59 opening 200. 21.98 for Freitag. Immediately moving into that outside lane is Brooke Braun. Freitag now trying to chase her down with that inner lane. They both come up to get the bell. See the first full lap time. It's a close one here with 400 meters to go. Braun clocks in 33.63, 33.76 for Freitag.
Braun has some work to do here. She has to finish on the outer, always a little bit more challenging. As Freitag charge around that outer, moving into the inner lane.
And Braun moving ahead with that inner lane. Freitag seems to be dropping off just a little bit. And it is going to be Brooke Braun taking the pair. Her time clocks in 1:35.8, 1:31.28 for Freitag.
So good fight between those two skaters. Freitag beat Braun in the 500 yesterday, but Braun took it today in the 1,000.
Final 3 pairs to come. This one's an all-Alberta battle. Victoria Copeland, Yasmin Oden. And there we go. There is a look at the down start. Oden's doing it.
Often the skaters will put a piece of sandpaper or something sticky that will grip the ice so that their thumb doesn't slide around when they're in that position. So they'll put a piece of sandpaper or even a torn off chunk of cheese grater on their thumb.
What start did you do when you did the sprints, Leo?
I did a classic, very traditional upright start. The starts were never my specialty.
26.7 for Copeland. Oden 22.02 through 200 meters.
So Oden with a quick opener there. Or sorry, Copeland with a quick opener there. Oden trying to keep up.
Both arms going 32.86 for Copeland. Oden 35.06 for her first full lap time.
Victoria Copeland on a very good race here. She's chasing a personal best of 1:31.3. It's going to be close if she keeps this up.
Decisive final few hundred meters for Copeland, chasing a personal best time. Both arms now down. She drives to the line, looking straight forward. Copeland 1:29.97.
She does it, cracking that 1:30 barrier.
1:34.95 for Oden. And for a skater to crack into a new second for the first time, what does that always sort of feel like?
It's always exhilarating for the athletes. To surpass yourself and do something you didn't think was possible. And it just opens new possibilities. Very rarely will skaters skate a personal best like that and then revert to the slower times.
Penultimate pair off cleanly. Laura Hall from BC on the inner. Alexa Aneka on the outer.
Good start from both skaters as they try to pick up speed. The 1,000 meter, that first corner is very important. Skaters have to find a balance between moving their legs quick and getting lots of pressure.
Close opening 200 meters between the two. 22.46, 22.53 for Hall.
Crossover on that backstretch. Annika getting a bit of a draft. That might help her.
Comes into the inner lane. They'll be hearing the bell when they go past the start-finish line. Annika pulling out a bit of an advantage. Her lap time, 34.23, 35.14 for Hall.
See if she can hang on the last lap.
With less than 400 meters to go, what's a coach telling someone down the back stretch in 1 or 2 words?
Stay low.
How hard is that to actually do when the legs are really starting to burn?
At this point, extremely difficult.
Annika coming to take the pair. She comes to the line with a time of 1:32.02, 1:34.47 for Hall.
That's a big personal best for Alexa and Neka, 5 seconds off her previous mark. And it looks like we have one final pair here. Racing on her own in the inner lane, Brienne Sipowinik.
Clean start from the Saskatchewan skater. A little stumble there off the first few strides. what's easier when you're skating by yourself? Is it a sprint or is it a longer distance where you are all on your own?
That's debatable. I think personally, I think a longer distance would be easier. It is certainly a much longer and lonelier race, but you do have lap times you can refer to. Your coach will give you those every lap, so you can keep track of your own pace. In a sprint, there's no time to think about any of that, and if without a pair, you have no reference point.
Well, Kpac, pretty fast opening 200 meters, 20.86. See what her lap time was as she comes up to get the bell. Kpac, lap time 34.67.
And she's doing a good job getting some good weight transfer there, hitting those outside edges. So watch for the skaters in the straightaway to, when they put their foot down, they should be just on the outside edge, and then they'll roll over into the inner edge with a bit of glide.
Kpac, less than 200 meters to go, smoothly around the corner as best she can. She'll likely drop both her arms down to try to bring herself to the line. There she is, keeping the tempo going. Her time, 1:34.74. That'll wrap up our first races of the day. There's the final standing. So Madison Pearman's time holds up, 1:17.86. Brooklyn McDougald, 1:19.48. Sarah Spence, 1:20.97.
So some great young Canadian talent here at the Canada Cup #2 in the 1,000 meter. Stay tuned this evening for some great Canadian Championships action.
That's the 500 meters coming up to wrap things up in the evening. This is just getting started for us. We have the men's 1,000 meters in Canada Cup coming up in about 20 minutes, and we'll be back with you then right before the races start. So stay tuned, everyone, and we will be back shortly.